Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Thursday. And, right after I cut my video yesterday, we had the birth of the first tropical storm in the Pacific. We've already had the first tropical storm in the Atlantic side back in April with Tropical Storm Arlene, but this was Tropical Storm Adrian. So I thought that, okay, today we'll have something in the tropics to talk about, even though it is on the Pacific side, and usually it's not most of the time that those don't really mean very much. And in fact, the Hurricane Center was forecasting it to be a tropical storm for the next 5 days, just kind of meander out here. And of course, lo and behold, it's gone. What we have left now is a remnant low. There's some remnant convection. You can see it here. Never really did get beyond anything more than a minimal tropical storm, but it did happen just 5 days before the beginning of the Pacific hurricane season, which is May 15th, while the Atlantic side hurricane season begins on June 1st. So I guess another subtle reminder of where we're going with all of this over time. And we'll look at the west this morning before we look at the east, and you can see this crashing system coming into the Pacific Northwest. Nice, well-defined swirl of clouds offshore, has some moisture with it swinging into the Pacific Northwest. And of course, we have this rather vigorous upper air system coming now out of New Mexico and Colorado and heading into Texas and Oklahoma with some showers and thunderstorms that are developing to the east. This is all going to be part of the weather system that will impact the east and northeast this weekend. And here you can see this system still taking its time coming out, and pieces of it are actually getting ejected ahead. And this is creating clouds from place to place and from time to time that are moving into the Ohio Valley and then pushing southeastward down off the mid-Atlantic coast. And this is really in response to, you still have this upper low that's sitting off the New England coast, and you still have some semblance of blocking out in the Atlantic. When you look at how the clouds are moving, it's a pretty easy thing to see. But that blocking now is beginning to break down. So as that happens, it opens the door for this weather system to push to the east. But you can see on the loop how a block works, because here's the upper low. You can see that spinning counterclockwise. These clouds are moving north east to southwest, and that's in response. There's a big upper high that's sitting up now, pushing up into Labrador. So your flow here is basically northeast to southwest, the bottom part of the high, the upper high, pushing those clouds along. So you see how the bottleneck works here. This is going to get out of the way. It allows this system to move out far enough east to give room for this one to push toward the east coast. It's kind of, I've always said it's sort of like watching these gears in motion, that like an old baby's toy where you put those gears in and you turn one and it turns them all and it keeps the kid occupied for a while. Well, it's sort of the same thing, except for the fact that these gears that we use are constantly changing in size and in strength and in position. So it's a constant evolving game that we're playing when we're looking at this from a forecast standpoint. Quick look at severe weather threat today. Fairly large area from much of Oklahoma and northeastern Texas, a small portion of northwestern Louisiana, all of Arkansas, southern Missouri into Kentucky, northwest Tennessee, West Virginia, and then a little arc that goes down into southeastern Virginia and eastern North Carolina. This is all, again, part of that whole system that is coming out. You can see the signature, by the way. If you look, we'll go back. Here's the signature on the satellite, and here's the severe weather outlook, and they kind of line up pretty well. So you can see the logic behind one versus the other. Okay, so let's take a look. We have the new NAM model in. Some of the overnight model runs, predictably, in my view, kind of went back a little bit with the rainfall. I really think the best approach through all of this from a forecast standpoint is that from the northern mid-Atlantic states right through to southern New England, there's going to be a few inches of rain. Some places, let's put the range somewhere between 1 to some places getting as much as 3 inches of rain. I think that's kind of the best way to approach it. Wouldn't be surprised to see it go back to something more aggressive given what we're dealing with. But The bottom line is that we are just going to have to watch it play through now at this point and see how reality handles it versus what the models do. But I'll run it back for you in terms of the actual surface features on the brand new NAM model that has come out. So you can see it here. You got these weak lows that are getting pieces that are coming out ahead of that system in the southern plain. So you get this one area of rain and showers that runs through Maryland, Delaware, and the Delmarva Peninsula this afternoon and then moves quickly out. And dry air tries to push down. One of the things that's going to be setting up during the day Friday is an onshore flow. And then as we move into Friday night and Saturday, we start to get this low that comes out off the North Carolina coast. And then you see it off the Delaware coast. The rain moves northward, and then so does the surface low Saturday night into Sunday morning. It's a pretty decent shot of rain. There's some patches of heavy rain in there, and it plays out on the order, again, of, I think, a general 1 to 2, maybe some 3-inch rainfall amounts wouldn't surprise me in the least. And we'll punch it up here on the tighter view so you can take a closer look. They backed off from yesterday. A lot of the models were doing 2, 3, and 4 inches. And, you still have some pockets of that over eastern Long Island and southeastern New England. But for the most part, most of the rain that's being indicated for New Jersey and for the Hudson Valley and Connecticut and Long Island is on the order of 1 inch to 1.5 inches. That seems to me like that's a pretty good bet. And we could wind up seeing it above that, so we'll outperform what the models are forecasting. That has been the general trend lately. It happened last week. Models backed off on rainfall amounts within 48 hours of the event, and then in the last 24 hours they kind of came right back, and we wound up getting the 2 to 3 inch rainfall amounts that were being predicted by the models days before the event happened. Now, once this is done, we'll go to the GFS, and let's show you what the prospects are going forward. And by the way, there might be some gusty winds along the coast Saturday night from the northeast. That wouldn't surprise me if it gets, we get some gales for at least a few hours along the immediate coast because of how, it's a nice tight little low and a fairly tight pressure gradient. But then out it goes. And as we move forward during next week, we've got a pretty vigorous system that drops down into the southwest. So that's going to be something interesting to watch because of the fact that it's been bone dry in the southwest. And this brings rain and snows into Southern California and Nevada. Also some action up in the northern plains. But, here in the east, we're going back to a normal progressive west to east pattern, which means that, it could get warm for a few days. And I'm going to tell you right now, as soon as we get into Monday and go back into sunshine, as long as we don't have an onshore wind, temperatures are going to be jumping up above 70. They just automatically do that this time of year. And I think toward the end of next week, we might have a couple of days where we could see some rather warm temperatures, provided we don't get any kind of backdoor cold front to come through, which is always a risk. But later next weekend, some showers and storms in the middle part of the country. You can see weather systems coming into the west. That all continues. Just getting back to what looks like a more normal mid to late May pattern across the U.S. And when we look at the upper air, which is where I'm going to finish today, we'll take a look at that. The block is going to be gone. Here's how it starts off with. We're starting here, and the upper high, this is from Tuesday, by the way. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You see how that high just disappears? See how the upper high just goes away? And then the Atlantic opens up, so weather systems move along. And here's the trough for the weekend with this system from the north coming down. Let me just redraw that just a bit neater. So we've got this, this northern stream energy and the southern stream energy, trough along the west coast. Here's the old system that was sitting off the New England coast. That runs out to the east. We now have lower pressures over Greenland. So, this opens the door for weather systems to start moving along and for the bottleneck that we've been in finally gets to break down. And, the models are keeping a less defined southern feature here and the north kind of takes it all over with. That's a bit of a difference in the last couple of runs, where the southern stream feature was trying to keep itself as a definable feature, which is why it generated all that rainfall. Models are kind of phasing this. You got to be careful with that, because it tried to do something along this last week and reducing rainfall amounts, and then wound up going back to the original idea. But in terms of the longer term, ridge in the east now pops up, and that's important, because if we have this, this is going to allow things to warm up. A trough in the west. Here's that system that's going to be coming down into the southwestern part of the United States toward the end of next week, with some much needed rain and snow there. But the basic premise now going into next week and next weekend is for a ridge in the east and general troughing in the west. So that's going to allow for warmer than average temperatures to develop in the eastern part of the United States. Again, there's no block anymore, so you don't have a mechanism to pin cold air into the east for long periods of time. That's going to be gone. So it's back to a more progressive, everything moves along west to east weather pattern. So we have that to look forward to, and some warmer weather, maybe just in time. This last map here, by the way, is for the beginning of the Memorial Day holiday weekend. So if we're in this idea of being in more of a ridge position in the east, it makes for better chances for warmer weather, which I know many of you have been crying for. But not all of you have. Some of you have really enjoyed this cool stretch of weather that we've been under. Enjoy it for a little while longer. All right, have a great day, everybody. New website posts on meteorologistjoechaffee.com, Angry Ben on nycweathernow.com, weatherlongisland.com for Long Island specific weather analysis by yours truly. And you can download my app and subscribe to my forecasts. There are links on the website pages, on all the website pages that you can access to. The app is free. The subscription is just $1 a month for New York, New Jersey, Long Island, Connecticut, Hudson Valley, and Eastern Pennsylvania. And if you sat through a 12-minute weather video, you must like it. So subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting the little tiny red subscribe button on the channel page, and you'll get notified when new videos come through. And I will be working on other things. I've got some ideas dancing in my head about some other things I'd like to do on my YouTube channel, and hopefully I will get some time to do this in the coming months to put something special together. So we'll see where that takes us going forward. Have a great Thursday, folks, and be safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.